Well, today I'm finishing off the spar that I made in the previous video, and I'm going to show you how I've devised a way to cut the notches for the ribs, and we'll show you how to do it right now. What I've come up with is a way to evenly space these ribs by doing it on a table saw. However, you have to start the first rib, you have to have one notch by eye or by hand. I measure over from the center line and make a mark. A slot. Now, the depth of this slot has been set to the depth of the ribs so that it goes and fits flush here, because this will be in this position here, and that'll be explained as we go, and I set this wing up to jig. But I've taken a nail and drilled a hole in the fence to use as a slot or a spacing tool. And what you do is you just take that slot that you just cut and set it on that nail, hold the spar down to the fence, start moving across. Now the last rib spacing is a little bit different. We have to kind of fudge it a little bit because of the difference in lengths from the inboard to the outboard, which is not a problem. You just take a pen and split the difference, and we'll cut that one by eye as well, so that we don't end up with, you know, a rib that's ½ inch from the end. And it's only off by maybe a 32nd of an inch, which should not be a problem. So we'll cut this last one by eye. Now, we have to transpose from one side to the other the start rib, so we'll take the square and make a mark. I have to have a starting rib, and the reason why I can't use this rib as a guide is that the center of this spar has no notch in it. So we'll make a cut. that's our spar notching. Didn't take long, maybe 5 minutes. And now we're going to have to cut a hole for the center. And what I have for that is a miniature hole saw. And this hole saw is for cutting a backup camera. It's 3/4 of an inch. A backup camera in a bumper. I'm sure you can find these hole saws just about anywhere. I mean, it's a pretty standard not like a doorknob saw. And we're going to cut us a hole in the center of this spar. Okay, we got that. I got that cut. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to have to cut that slot. Now, I probably could cut it on the jigsaw or whatever, but I'm just going to use a hand saw if I can find one. Can't use that one, the back saw. I need to use a jab saw. There we go. The last thing my mother gave me. So we'll make a line here. And it does not have to be perfect. You want to stay inside the line because we're going to grind it with the Dremel. And this is the last setup step before I jig up the wing. Take your time. Cutting plywood here. So I'm going to have to use the other saw that I have. I have a more stout jab saw. This is an X-Acto brand saw. Try this. One side. Okay, that's a pretty stout spar, 1/8 inch with 16 ply on each side. And we'll hope that it's under an ounce. I don't know. But now we'll take the drum sander on the Dremel and clean it up. That looks pretty good. I'll take a little sanding file and sand it perfectly straight. This is not real critical, it's just a matter of personal preference. I like my airplanes to be as nice looking inside as they are outside, and that's just me. What this is a file that I made, a sanding bar that I made with just some sticky back 80 grit sandpaper on it, and it's made out of light ply. And it's straight because I glued it to a backbone. So it's a T-stander. You can make tools and different things. Now, I made a mistake when I cut the notch on the other one there, and I cut an extra slot. So we're going to fill that slot. It's on the wingtip, so it really is not that big a deal. I'll just take a piece of rib material, stick it in that slot. Stick it in that slot where I cut the extra slot. CA it. Trim it off. And balsa wood is magic. I love it. I love working with it because you can make no mistake. And if you look here, it's gone. And it'll be just fine. So we have to measure the inboard. Which one's the inboard? That's 23. So that's the outboard. This is 23 3/4. So this is the inboard. Now, I've drawn the center line on the spar. The spar is relatively straight, but it doesn't matter. But it's nice to have everything straight on that. And now we have to set up our jig. We have to jig our wing up. So let me get the jig blocks. Of course, I just built that other wing, so I have the jig box pretty handy. That's 2, 3. I need 6 of those. 3. I have a whole bucket full of them. So we got one side. That's 3. There's the other side. We have all our jig blocks, and what I do is I take them and I make sure they're all, they were all built at different times, so they all possibly could be just slightly different. You want to make sure that all the notches line up. If you look here, that one doesn't match. And that one matches, so that's a set. This one doesn't match, and it probably matches the other one. So we'll take out some other ones and see. We want all of them to match. There we go. So we now have 3, 6, 12 pieces that are ready to go, and we're going to do our trailing edges first. Make sure that our trailing edges fit in these grooves. Of course, they're forced in, and they do. So that's close enough. All right, so we're going to glue. Let me move this camera. Trailing edges are our trailing edge jig blocks on the glass straight here. And we just tack glue them with some CA. I bring it to the corner so I got plenty of room. And I have to get a measurement from the plans. So I better do that now. See, I already know what it is. Duh. Inboard wing is 23 3/4. Let me get a Sharpie. Inboard board is 23 3/4. This is the center right here. And this doesn't have to be exact because we're just gluing our jig blocks in. So we'll come off the center of that about 2.5 to 3 inches and glue the next jig block down. And then I just eyeball, split the difference between the two. Now this is not my system. This is the Tom Morris system of building wings, and you know, I gotta tell you, it's a good way to do things. I've already built 2 wings like this, and basically with the way this is done, you know, we'll have a wing in just an hour or so. Turn it over, and I'm just eyeballing this about 2.5 to 3 inches off that. To the glass, and we have to come over 23 inches to this side. What do you know, I got it long enough for a 60-inch wing. My my countertop here is not really big enough, but it is good for a classic wing here. I have to do it another way when I do a larger wing. So we know this is our wingspan, and we're building off the trailing edge. Take this and split the difference, because basically all that does is hold the center of the trailing edge, and it's just not that critical. So we have our blocks glued to the table. Next we're going to insert our trailing edges. Now, did I make that other trailing edge? Probably not. I might have to glue up a trailing edge here. Alright, we got the one installed there. Slight twist, but that's alright. We'll hold that in with a clamp. Okay. I had forgotten that I didn't make the other trailing edge, so we'll make up that trailing edge right now. I've already got the pieces cut, I think. Yeah, I do. Okay. So as I have shown you in the leading edge video how I do that is with the straight edge. So we'll take the straight edge here. look at my shelf. My shelf is pretty straight. We'll hold it up to the straight edge. And hold our 1/4 inch square up to that. Tack. Tack. I mean, this is just so simple, this way of doing things. It's I don't know who dreamed it up. Now the lost foam is another good way to do things. Of course, you know, I have my way of stack sanding and the rod method, and there's, you know, all sorts of ways to do this, and I'm thinking about incorporating a couple of different ideas together. I like this way of doing things. It makes a nice straight wing, but I also like the molded leading edge, so I don't see why we can't do a molded leading edge on one of these and see if it's straight. It did stay straight. And I use my eye a lot. You really got to look at things. You can't just lay it down and say, well, it's on a straight table, so it has to be straight. No, it doesn't. Use your eye. So that's straight there. So now we'll add this piece, and I want it to, wow, that's a snake if you look down this, but that's okay. We'll give her a whirl. We'll see how it goes. I guess we'll go in this direction here. Hopefully we got it. So we'll tack it. Come down a little farther. Tack it. A little farther. Sorry I didn't have this made up prior. We'd already be setting up our wing, but I didn't, so shoot me. Okay, it's straight. So now we tacked it and detail glue it. One thing I didn't do before I put this together is I didn't square up the end of these trailing edges, so I'm going to do that now because we want a good joint. Nothing more than just putting a nice square edge on it. So let's cut this the right length. I think 23 would be. I'll make 23 and a half. 24 is fine. That way I don't have as much to work with there. Glue didn't hold. If you have thick CA, it works better. Thick CA and kicker, but I don't, so. Okay, small trick. If you don't have any kicker, baking soda. Just take the soda and sprinkle it on. Okay, so we need to glue this block to the glass 10 inches. So we have a 10-inch tip. And we'll be double checking before we go too far here. A little bit. Necessity is the mother of invention. I'll just put it in one of these cups here. And we'll add some more CA to that. And then just sprinkle a little baking soda around it. And trust me, that'll be glued on there. It'll be harder than heck to get off. Okay, so now we have a 10-inch tip. And we need an 11-inch root. Make sure we have this correct. We do. Now when you're measuring this, you want to come to the inside of the jig block, because that is our most outer part. Alright, now, leading edge wise, we'll put our leading edge here. And we want the, I guess we could make it exact and put this on a square. Make sure the center of the wing there. That's ridiculous. So we want the center line of the wing, and we'll find that right here. Another reason why I like working on glass. I can draw on it, glue on it. When it's done, I'll just get a new piece of glass. So, combination square, make sure that it's on the center. You notice I didn't put that center block in until now, because we don't know the angle that it's got to be on. I suppose you could figure it out, but no need to. Man, that thing is a breasty wing. I need to check mine and make sure that it's the correct measurement.